lava bang. All them having cars now, which I bag it up. I start my card with a sweet one bliss. Someone flips me a bag it up. So, another one, it's another one, yeah. It's a full span, yeah. Oh, it's another one, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Green Diamond Boxing, hosted by iBoxingHub. I'm your presenter, Aisha, and today's episode is not going out live, but all for good reason. My guest today is on the other side of the world, professional boxer and world champion, Billy Dib. Welcome, Billy. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How you doing? You all right? How's things?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Alhamdulillah, mashkallah. All is well.
Oh, that's great. Great to hear that. So you're in Australia. That's where you were born, brought up. And I was reading about your background. And guess what? We're just 13 days apart. We're born in the same month, same year. You're 13 days older than me.
Oh, wow. There you go. Awesome.
There you go. Practically twins on the other side of the world.
Nice. So what, you're born on the 30th?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, I thought that was really nice. I love to see when people are like similar ages and stuff. It's really nice because a lot of people in the boxing world are a lot younger than me. So it's nice to find someone who's a similar age. So that's that I found that really interesting. So your professional boxing career started in 2004.
That's correct. Well,
yeah.
So my professional career started in 2004, but my amateur career started in 1999. So
wow, so you were there for 5 years doing that.
That's right.
Being an amateur. So how was that? How was your amateur career? Because you did quite a lot of fights in your amateur career, obviously, didn't you?
Yeah, I had 113 amateur fights. I had 98 wins, and I suffered 15 defeats in the amateur circuit. But it was all, it was all progression. It was all learning and just getting better with my trade. That's what it was. It was like the apprenticeship. I was doing the apprenticeship to make sure that when I turned professional, I had the goods.
Yeah. And everyone kind of varies in terms of like how long they have their amateur career for. Do you think it's important to have like a good maybe 3 to 5 years before you go into a pro? Is there like a certain set number of years that you think is good?
Not necessarily. A lot of fighters don't have a lot of amateur fights. A lot of great fighters haven't had a lot of amateur fights. But for me, I think having that amateur pedigree really helped in the pro circuit because basically I faced every single style there was outside of.
Yeah.
I faced boxers. I faced good punches. I faced guys who were strong that came forward. So it was like as I said, it was an apprenticeship. I got the opportunity to learn against all these guys. And once I turned professional, and so to have 113 amateur fights in 5 years was a lot of fights, which is good, but it wasn't as many as I would have liked to have. I think a lot of the great fighters, like Vasily Lomachenko, Alexander Usyk, a lot of these guys had extensive amateur careers. And then you've got guys who only had like 50 professional fights and 30, some had 20. But I enjoyed the amateur circuit. It was a lot of fun. But after losing, after not making it to the Olympic Games, I was really disheartened and heartbroken. So I think I just needed a change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And who was your inspiration in boxing then during your early career days?
It's pretty much similar to a lot of people. Obviously, my first true love in boxing was Muhammad Ali. Growing up in a household, my father's name was actually Muhammad Ali.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and funny stories. My father was had the name Muhammad Ali before Muhammad Ali reverted to Islam.
Oh,
so
really? Wow.
That's always been the original Muhammad Ali to me.
Oh, wow.
But following Muhammad Ali, obviously there was other great champions like Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane Mosley, Bernard Hopkins. But my childhood hero would definitely have to be Prince Nassim Ahmed.
Okay, yeah. So in Australia, what's the boxing scene like right now? And have you seen like a shift in popularity?
It's really, really growing, and it's such a strong sport at the moment. Like we've got great champions like Tim Tszyu, who's a world champion. We've got people like Sam Goodman, who's world rated. There's like a lot of great talent out there. Liam Wilson. I think there's some great talent. My younger brother Yusuf's up there as well.
Oh, really?
So there's a lot of great talent in Australian boxing.
Mm.
Very, very healthy at the
Yeah,
moment.
I actually quite
I think
like Jai Opataya. I've been following him.
Jai up with Jai. I mean, like that's as I said to you, there's a lot of names out there.
Yeah,
Even like Fire, George Cambosis. These are a lot of the guys who are carrying the sport of boxing for Australia at the moment. They're waving that flag really proud. And you know what? I should have mentioned Jai first because Jai is really flying that flag high, and he's really he is the lineal champ of that division. He's
yeah.
like there's no one. I don't think there's anybody that's even close to him right now.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And watching him live is just something else. It's amazing. You've met like loads of amazing people throughout your career. Like I've seen you obviously meeting Mike Tyson quite early on in your career. Is there anyone that you felt kind of starstruck with, or like who's the best person that
It
you've
was,
met?
to be quite honest, after meeting Prince Nassim Hamed
Mm.
and becoming really close with Nas, nobody else mattered after that.
Wow.
I've met Mike Tyson, I've met Oscar De La Hoya. Sugar Shane Mosley was another great person who I was involved with for many, many years.
Mm.
But no one really. I didn't get close to anybody like I did with Prince Nassim and Sugar Shane Mosley. They were like
Right.
the two people who really mentored me throughout my, the course of my professional career.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to meet. It seems like I would love that. So your promotional team was Golden Boy Promotions. We've had a bit of a kind of rift between like Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya. How was your experience of being in Golden Boy Promotions?
I mean, my time with Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley, Bernard Hopkins at Golden Boy Promotions was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I appeared on 6 major cards during my time with Golden Boy, and when I challenged for the WBO world title, and which was held formerly by Prince Nassim Hamed for many, many years, I lost a close decision to Stephen Loevno, and after that I was a little bit disheartened, and I just felt like maybe it was I didn't know where to go from there. And Golden Boy gave me an opportunity to work my way back into the ratings, and they basically said, "Look, we could put you in a really we can put you back in a really hard fight. Or we're happy to just let you do whatever you want." So I pretty much asked for a release.
Yeah.
They gave me a release, and we left on good terms.
Okay.
We kept the relationship, and we kept the door of business open.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went off to do my own thing, and I just felt like it was time for me to do my thing, go out and resurrect my career and do it my way. And eventually, by doing that, I worked my way back into the number 1 position and became world champion.
Yeah, amazing. And what about your career now? Are you retired now? Are you gonna maybe do another fight, or what are you thinking?
I haven't formally retired. I never formally announced my retirement. I never said that I was leaving the sport of boxing, but obviously, due to circumstances, I needed to step away. And now that I'm getting a lot better, I'm thinking like maybe just to have like an exhibition to sort of leave on my own terms. I wouldn't look at doing anything too serious, but maybe just an exhibition to leave on my own terms. That would really work for me.
Yeah. So throughout your career, could you tell me about like a really happy or really positive moment throughout your boxing career that really stands out for you? What jumps out throughout your career so far?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, the career that I had was such a roller coaster career. It was a career of many highs and some lows. But that's a sport of boxing. You win some, you lose some. But definitely the night that I captured the IBF featherweight world title against Jorge La Cierva, that definitely is a moment that I'll never forget. And I remember in the lead up to that fight, my relative and I, who are really close, my cousin Ahmed. It's funny because he and I were spending some time today together, and I said to him, I remember the lead up to that fight like vividly. He and I spent so much time together. We did everything together. And when we were kids, my relative and I, we both had the same dream of becoming world champions. Is that I kept on moving that way, and he decided another direction. But eventually, once I got to that point when I was challenging for the world title, I remember like him going out and selling tickets and letting everybody know about it. And then when I won the world title, when I say we won the world title, because it was a group effort, it was a team effort. It was an amazing team of people, promoters and managers, and it was a victory for everybody. It wasn't just for me. And
Yeah.
but me and my cousin, we spent that night, and I remember he slept at my house, and we put the belt up in between. And we both slept next to the belt. It was like one of them nights. We laughed about it, but we just, it was what an amazing journey it was, and like the happiness that it brought so many people around me. It was just that's what was so good about it. It was just like the joy that my dad got out of it, my siblings, my relatives, my friends, my fans. It was fantastic. It was an achievement that I'll never forget, and something that I'll hold very close to my heart forever.
Wow, it's like celebrating together as like a whole community, isn't it? That's lovely.
Yeah, that's what it was. So like,
Yeah.
I was never the type of person who won fights and went out and partied or anything like that. I wasn't. Oh, but for me, having a barbecue at my place, or inviting all my friends over, and just that to me was a celebration. You know what I mean? Like having some dinner with everybody, and when I say dinner with everybody, I mean like the whole community. It was one of the. I was like the community champion. It was amazing.
Oh, that is so nice. Like, that must be such like an amazing feeling, because it's not just yourself that's won something. It's like your family, it's a wider community, it's your whole team. That kind of feeling must be amazing.
Well, I mean, that's what it was for me. It was the fact that when I was winning, everybody else was winning with me, and I just loved the opportunity to take everybody on that journey with me. It was a complete blessing. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So what's your opinion then on boxing as a career now? So there's some fighters that feel quite hard done by in terms of, the opportunities that they get or don't get, the maybe the stick that they get for maybe losing a fight. There's quite a lot in there. There's a lot of pressure on fighters. Would you be someone who would encourage someone to get into the sport of boxing? Like, I mean, I know you've got a son, or would you say, no, actually think twice, don't do it?
No, I would never say think twice, because boxing is such a beautiful sport. It's changed the direction of so many lives.
Yeah.
So many people have become millionaires from boxing who maybe never would have made that kind of money anywhere else. So, boxing obviously changes lives, and it gives people an opportunity to do something very positive. But obviously, my advice to people out there is that if you're not willing to take the sport seriously, don't do it, because it's a sport to not be played with. This is not a game. Yeah. This is a sport where you could lose your life. You put your life at risk every time you jump in the ring, and it's one of those sports. It's very unforgiving, and unforgiving. It's like we built this stigma that boxing, you need to be the winner all the time. But in the olden days, it didn't matter if you lost in a really good fight. You'd always come back in another great fight. But I think the fact that I would say Floyd Mayweather built this thing that you had to have this undefeated professional record, and and obviously Floyd's retired undefeated, but he was able to pick and choose when he fought everybody that he fought.
Yeah.
And then you got other great fighters who suffered defeats but were still great. Like I think that Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all times, and he suffered more than one or two defeats. He suffered losses to Leon Spinks, to Larry Holmes, to Trevor Berbick. He lost to Ken Norton. Muhammad Ali lost a couple of fights. So but that doesn't change the greatness in him. Greatness is being able to rebound from defeat. That's great. And he was able to do that on several occasions. But I feel that the sport of UFC does it correctly, because regardless if you lose, you still come back in big fights. You're still a star. And boxing has this way of, you suffer one loss and all of a sudden you're trash, which is very, very sad, because there's a lot of great fighters out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of sporting fans in general, not maybe just in boxing, are quite hard on those, sports people that maybe don't have a good day at the office, like it happens to everyone.
We all suffer setbacks, and that's just life is one of those things. It throws obstacles at you, and boxing is a sport where it's a 50-50, especially at the top of the tree. When you're at the top of the tree, when you're like the number one contender facing the champion, sometimes maybe the champion is a little bit better.
Yeah.
The 50-50 fight, really, because you got two guys who are tremendously prepared, who are in fantastic shape, and it just comes down to who turns up on the night and delivers the goods. But it's as I said, it's not an easy sport, and people really need to start understanding that there's always going to be a winner and a loser. That's just the way the boxing sport goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in terms of like your life, obviously you've had some major setbacks and some major tests. So it was in 2022 that you were diagnosed with stomach cancer, that you've been quite vocal about online, and you've spoken about it quite a lot in interviews and things. So like, as Muslims, obviously we know we're going to have loads of tests in life. How have the tests in your life affected you as a person and affected your faith?
I wouldn't say they've affected me too much because, growing up in a household of Muslims, we've always been taught that nothing happens without Allah's permission. And the other thing that I, get told by a lot of people, and my wife constantly told me this while I was sick. She's saying, Allah's testing you because He loves you. If He's not testing you, then He doesn't love you. You should be worried. I guess when people are saying things like this, you really accept it. And I was very, very accepting. And I did get the question a lot about like, why were you so vocal on social media about your illness? And I was like, you'll never understand. But for me, having a young son at the time so my son, he was only like 2 years and maybe 10 months old when I was told that I had cancer. And so I was thinking, what's gonna happen to my son? Who's gonna look after my son? And so, the reason why I fought so hard was because I had a why. My why was very clear. It was like, my why is I can't leave my son. I don't want to die and leave my son. And obviously, I'm only here through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. I'm not here for any other reason. God gave me a reason to be here today, and that's the only reason why I'm here. Why He gave me that reason, why He gave me more life, I don't know, because there's a lot of people out there who die from cancer, but subhanAllah, Allah chose to give me more time, and I'm trying to make good on that time. I'm trying to invest it in looking after my family and looking after people who are sick, being there for other people who are going through the same dilemma. But like I said, I always had the faith that no matter what happens, it's only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. And I'm only here because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose me to be here. That's the truth. And the reasons why I was so vocal on social media was because I felt like if my time on this earth was going to be cut and I was going to be leaving the dunya, then I wanted my son to know who I was. And I felt like at the age of 2 years and 10 months, he didn't really know who I was yet. And so by doing these videos and posting things on social media and doing a lot of private videos for him, he would be able to see what kind of a father that he had, and that, he might be wanting to follow in my footsteps one day. And, for me, when I say following my footsteps, I'm not necessarily talking about boxing, but just as me as a person and how I treat people, because I think it really comes down to, being a good person and looking after people, being a person who's willing to give people a helping hand, and not being not always being that person who wants to take. I wanted my son to see that I wasn't that type of a person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Did it make you closer to Islam, do you think?
You know what? I've always had such a strong faith. My faith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been really strong. I've always had a strong faith and a belief in my deen and like there's, they say there's Muslims and then there's a mu'min. You know what I mean? When you're a mu'min, it's different to being a Muslim. And I always
Could you just explain that, like, for the viewers who don't maybe understand Arabic and who aren't Muslim?
Like some of us are born into Islam. For example, the Dhuhr prayer comes, or the Asr or the Maghrib prayer comes, and you hear the calling for prayer, but you don't go pray because it's not really in you. You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You're a Muslim, but by name. But when you're a mu'min, you hear the adhan and you're like, oh, I got to go pray. Because you have this connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, for me, like, that's the difference. Like, I always had such a strong connection, and I always, it's very, very, very fun.
Mashallah, that's really good. Do you think that your mentality as a boxer, obviously you go into the ring, you have to fight, has that played any part in you fighting cancer or being
Major.
able to fight this? Yeah.
It played such a major role because the way I looked at it was like, it's a battle. This is a
Mhm.
battle against an opponent that I couldn't see. Even
Mhm.
though I couldn't prepare for this opponent,
Yeah.
I would take it like a fight every day. Every single
Yeah.
day when I woke up in the morning, I said, "This is a new day, a new round, and I'm going head to head again." Every time I had chemotherapy, I prepared myself mentally that I'm facing an opponent that I can't see today, and I feel like, it was obviously the reason of having my son. It was the
Mm.
me being able, like the doctors told me, they go, if you weren't fit, it would have been very, very hard for you to get through this.
Wow.
But the fact that I walked into hospital fit
Mhm.
and tried to stay fit while I was in hospital, like I would do things like shadow box, use dumbbells,
Really?
stretch bands. I would try to do push
Wow.
ups, chin ups, dips. I was trying to do anything and everything to just try to stay alive.
Yeah.
So, and that was the determination, and that was the same determination that I had during the course of my career. I had
Yeah.
a never say die attitude.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that's important, right? For fighters to have that type of a mentality to get through that career like that.
I no doubt about it, no doubt. If you want to be the cream of the crop in boxing, you have to be
Mm.
willing to go to a place that the regular human is not willing to go to. And
Mm.
I've been there on several occasions. It's nearly like a place of death.
Wow.
You got to be willing to go to a place of death, nearly.
Mhm.
When you think back to great fights, like for example, Eric Morales versus Marco Antonio Barrera. When you think back
Mhm.
to, Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward, they needed to go to a place that their opponent wasn't willing to go to win
Yeah.
that fight, because they both came with the amazing determination, the amazing firepower, but one had to be more determined than the other to get to that point, and
Yeah.
to get that victory or to get that result, you need to be willing to go to a place of near death, because
Wow.
you could only imagine how all four of them guys would have felt after them fights,
Mhm.
because I could tell you, after being in a 12-round war, it's not a good feeling. The human body is not made to take that kind of trauma. That's the
Mm.
truth. And you're putting your body through a trauma that's really not supposed to see. That
Mhm.
body's not supposed to see that kind of trauma, but you put it through that. But that's what I mean about having to go to that place. You got to go to that place, and that can only happen a few times in your life, because the body has a defense mechanism that stops you from going to that place.
Wow.
Especially after, like, I remember the first time I ever went to that place. And the following fight after that, which was against Stephen Loeveno, I was not willing to go to that same place again, because my body was like, no, don't you remember how sick you were after that
Mhm.
fight? You don't want to go there again. So it's a defense mechanism that's in the body that does that.
Yeah. Oh wow. I mean, they say that boxing is the loneliest sport, because only you can be in that ring, right? Even though people help you out leading up to the fight, you're the only one that's going to step into that ring. How do you manage that mentally? Obviously, you're saying you have to get to like a real like edge place. How do you manage that with your mental, like
Well,
the psychology of it all?
you can't get there without preparation. It all
Hmm.
it all comes down to the preparation. It's like fail to prepare and prepare to fail.
Hmm.
If you haven't prepared well enough, you're gonna fail. And
Yeah.
it's the same concept as life, and going to school and education. If you don't study for an exam, on the
Mm.
morning of the exam, you have these really bad anxieties, you're not ready for it. How are you going to pass the test if you haven't prepared?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing about boxing, like, in order to go to these places or in order to get to that next level, you need to be able to, really prepare yourself extremely well in
Mm.
the lead up, because you're not just going to turn up on a night and win if you haven't prepared well enough. It really comes down to the preparation, and really comes down to the mindset, and having the right team around you. I think there's so many great fighters out there, and they wouldn't have been great without the team that they had around them.
Yeah.
You need to
Absolutely.
have a good corner. You need to have an excellent manager,
Mm.
a good team around you who believes in you, and believes that you can get there. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to you.
Hmm.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter who believes in you, you'll never succeed.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. My dad always laughs when I watch boxing, because he's like, oh, you know, they all do all this kind of trash talk beforehand. They're like cussing each other. Then they go into the ring and they want to like kill each other. And then as soon as the last bell goes, they hug.
Yeah,
They're like best friends.
that's like a sportsmanship thing, you know. It's a
Yeah,
sportsmanship.
exactly.
Because even when that happens, you see, there's a lot of fighters that have rematches,
Mm.
but it's a respect thing, you know. After being in
Yeah.
the ring with somebody for 10 or 12 rounds and nearly beating each other half to death, there's always that respect where, like, you know, you acknowledge the person, because boxing's a very, very lonely sport, as you said. You know, it takes a lot of courage to step into the squared circle. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
Definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Even to watch it, I think, you know, for some people, like, it's difficult to watch depending on which fights they are, and how they go. So other things on social media that you've been quite vocal about, and then I like to raise, because I'm quite vocal about it as well. It is political, but it's something that's important. It's about Palestine. So obviously there's some people that we know aren't talking about it out of fear of being cancelled or whatever. What's your mindset on it? Can you just talk to us a bit about that?
Well, look, for me, I'm a little bit. It's a little bit different for me, because you see, my mother's Palestinian, and my mother's family was exiled from Palestine just before she was born. My mother has siblings that live in Palestine. She has nieces and nephews that live there, and they've lived in that horror for, you know, many years. And so for me, it's like, I need to be a voice for my family. I need to be a voice for my mother's country. I need to use my platform to be a voice for those kids who are suffering and dying. I find it extremely weak by people who are not speaking out, because what's the big deal? You know what? You lose a couple of followers, you gain a couple of followers, or whatever it is. You know, who cares? At the end of the day, the truth is that I believe this. Whether they believe it or not, I really believe this. I believe that on the day of resurrection, we're all going to be questioned about what we did. And if you have a platform and you haven't used it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you on the day of resurrection, why did you not use your platform to raise awareness? Because as you can see, this has been happening for many years, yet we're only just seeing it now properly because of social media. Had social media not been there, we wouldn't be seeing this. And that's, thankfully, a lot of beautiful people out there are sharing. And if they weren't, we wouldn't be seeing these things. And so, you know, it's like, how can you see these things and not have a heart? That's the thing that I'm just trying to work out. When you see a young kid die, don't you think to yourself that that could be my child, that could be my niece, my nephew, my relative? That's how I feel. I mean, when I see these videos, I'm extremely hurt, because I think that could be my son, that could be my niece, that could be my nephew. That it really does, you know, hit me in a place that does hurt. And, you know, weak people out there who have massive reach that aren't making any noise, well, I don't worry about them too much, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to deal with them in his own time. That's the truth of the matter. And the other thing that brings me peace is knowing that none of this is happening without Allah's permission. Not a leaf falls off a tree without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying fall. So you can imagine the billions of trees there are in the world, and each leaf that falls, Allah says fall. So everything that happens only by Allah's permission. All of these kids being martyred, that's Allah's decree. Allah has written for them to go to Jannah. You know, when you think about it, let's be honest, what is the end goal? Is to make it to Jannah. For every one of us, to make it to Jannah. Everyone that comes to the dunya, you know, has a goal of making it to heaven one day. That's the goal, right? So basically, on a Monday, you go to see the doctor, and the doctor says to you, listen, I've got an appointment available for Friday. So then you say, okay, book me in for Friday. Then he rings you back and says, look, I've got that appointment for you on Wednesday. Are you happy to take the appointment on Wednesday? And you're like, absolutely. You're trying to reach the goal of what you're trying to achieve. So these kids, they don't have to face the hardship of life, the hardship of the beautiful souls that have been taken. They're all in Jannah now. They're not dead. They're in Jannah. They've been martyred. These people are angels, you know what I mean? So, like, subhanAllah, it's like, what a beautiful way to go. That's why you see people saying the smell of musk is in there. People are saying the smell of musk. You know, when a body rots, there's a really bad smell to it.
Mm-hmm.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making these people smell beautiful.
Yeah.
And no matter what the Zionist Jews are doing, and no matter what this is only by Allah's decree. Nothing happens without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. So if that makes them feel good about themselves, so be it. But we'll see what happens. Inshallah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me life for me to see their ending. I want to see. I really want to see how this is going to end for them.
Yeah.
Because they can plot and plan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's got bigger plans. Like I said, and my faith is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, even my relatives, like we've begged them to come to Australia. And no chance. We're gonna live and die on our land.
Wow.
And that's the strength of Palestinian Muslims. Look at their faith. And look and when I say, look, I created a brand, right? I got a brand called Believe. And it's spelled BILLYVE. It's my clothing range.
Right.
And the slogan is vision, consistency, success, right? Now, off the end of that, I've done my first range. Now I'm going to go into my second range. My second range is to get dedicated to the people of Gaza. It's to the people of Palestine. And the clothes say undefeated. And when I say undefeated, it's not a boxing t-shirt. It's not a t-shirt like me saying I'm undefeated, but the Palestinian Ummah are undefeated. And I'll tell you why. Because no matter what you do to them, you kill their children, kill them, you kill the grandfathers, the grandmothers, you don't discriminate. What do their relatives say? What do the mothers and fathers say? They all say Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. How can you defeat a nation that says thank you, God, after you killed it?
Exactly.
To me, that's an undefeated nation.
Yeah.
That's a people that you can't defeat. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
And the truth is they are the real winners. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored them by taking them all to Jannah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Like, totally agree with everything that you said. And like, when you look at it, and like, Israel have got one of the most advanced, if not the most advanced technology, army, guns, whatever they have, and they're not defeating people who have got zero. Like, they've got stones. That is their weapons.
And listen,
they're
not defeating anybody. They'll never defeat anybody. This is only happening by Allah's decree. They're all getting away with whatever they're doing right now, but this is all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is writing it all down.
Yeah.
It's getting written down, and we will wait and see. We will wait and see, and I ask Allah to allow me to be here to see what happens. I just want to see it. I just want to see it because I know in the end, victory is ours.
Absolutely.
And
it's been going on for so long anyway, and they haven't defeated them.
I'm going to scream free Palestine for the rest of my life. And no one's going to take my voice. You can't buy my voice, nor with the sponsorship, nor with TV deals, nothing. Nothing's going to stop me from screaming free Palestine. No amount of money. Because at the end of the day, the rizq only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You only make wealth through Allah's permission. So what are you worried about losing something that you're not going to... If you're worried about losing something that you have, then Allah hasn't written that for you anyway.
100%.
What are you worried about? That's why I'm going to say this again. If you have a platform, do not be a weak individual. Use your platform and speak up. Think about it like this. That could be your sister, your brother, your niece, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather. That could be one of your relatives. That could be one of your family members.
Yeah.
How dare you sit back and watch these kids being slaughtered and not say anything? We can't be defeated because our mentality is that we're only here through Allah's permission. And we're only here for one thing, that's to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to basically do the best we can to help as many people as we can. You know what I mean? Like, that's, for me, to receive messages from people saying, thank you so much for speaking up for Palestine. I'm like, this is my obligation, man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a platform to use it, not to be silenced.
Yeah, 100%. back you all the way with that, Billy. And thank you so much for joining this call. I know it's really late in Australia right now. I'm sure it's like time that you want to get into bed probably.
So much for the call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. And your social media, could you just let us know where you're at on social media, and also how can we get hold of your merchandise that you have as well?
Well, I mean, thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for your love and support. First and foremost, I want to let people know that a percentage of everything that I sell, from my clothing range to my autobiography and all that stuff, a lot of the proceeds go to towards charity, which is now, with the charity that I'm supporting is charity that's supporting Palestine, you know, the Palestinian movement right now. So if you do purchase anything, just know that a portion of that money will be going towards charity for Palestine. Obviously, with my social media handles, it's all at Billy Dib, just BILLYDIB. And if you do want to purchase anything from me, you can go to www.billydib.com and just go to the shop and you can purchase an autobiography. I'll personally sign an autobiography. Or if you purchase any clothes, just know that the quality of the clothes is amazing, and you know, the support is much appreciated.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing what you do next. We'll be following your journey, and inshallah I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.
Walaikum assalam.
It's another bang. All the Muslim cars now, whichever get up. Light up my card with a sweet one.